You ever have something that feels like yours down to the last pour, a place you worked for, a quiet corner you carved out of life, and then one afternoon some stranger walks in and pretends it never belonged to you? That's how it started for me. Linda Hargrove walked into my backyard like she owned the sky, pointed at the pool, and said, "This belongs to the association now." I couldn't tell if I should laugh or be furious, so I did a little of both, which I think is the only civilized reaction left. I'm Ethan Mercer. Tara's my partner. We moved here for peace, and the pool was the kind of small luxury you sweat for. Weekend swims, late-night conversations, a place where time slows and you can forget the rest for a minute. So when Linda showed up with that clipboard and a smile that didn't reach her eyes, it was more than a complaint about amenities. It felt like an attempt to redraw the lines of what we'd built. At first, it was all paper and posture. A letter about community use, a flyer left on a neighbor's door, small comments at the grocery store, the kind of things that whisper until they become background noise. Linda was magnetic in meetings. She'd say shared spaces and neighborhood benefits in a way that made people relax. And when people relax, they stop asking questions. The problem with confidence is it sounds like truth, and truth gets believed when no one asks for proof. I did the sensible things. I went to the board, asked for the rule she was citing, showed my ownership papers, kept my voice steady because anger is easy and paperwork is real. The board gave me the bureaucratic song, "We'll look into it," and Linda kept performing. Her narrative grew louder, and the neighborhood started to nod along. Small humiliations stack. Someone left trash by the gate. Another neighbor casually assumed it was fine to use the space for a birthday party. A few folks began referring to the community pool like it had always been that way. The weird part is how quickly other people's assumptions make you doubt what you own. That sinking feeling, that knot in your chest, is what made me act. There's a quiet moment before you decide to push back where you test what you're willing to risk. I remember sitting on the back steps one night, hearing crickets and the hush of the water, thinking that defending a rectangle of blue felt ridiculous and also essential. That pool was a symbol of work, of a life we'd chosen. I decided I wasn't going to let someone else narrate our life. So I planned a reveal not violent, not harmful, but theatrical enough to make people pause. I'm not going to tell you how to do anything. This isn't a how-to. What I will say is sometimes the only way to get people's eyes to see is to change the scene so the lie can't stand. Tara watched me plan and gave me that look that says, "If you're doing this, I'm with you." That's marriage, those quiet approvals. In the morning, Linda put on her PR face and announced a community open day at our address. She even seemed to have imagined a ribbon and applause. People came expecting a friendly scene, folding chairs, lemonade, polite conversations. Instead, they found something that didn't match Linda's story. Confusion spread like a breeze. People exchanged glances and phones came out because when something reads wrong, we all try to make sense of it together. Linda tried to fill the space by attacking the pause with words. In front of the neighbors, she launched into threats. "You'll regret this, Ethan. Fines, legal action. I can make this very difficult." It was loud and meant to cow. Threats are designed to make you small, and for a second I felt that familiar coil of fear. But the neighborhood was there, and fear doesn't have to mean surrender when others are watching. Sam, who runs the hardware store and has a practical way of looking at things, stepped forward and asked, clear as day, "Do you have the documents to back this up?" Not mean, just necessary. That question is a kind of spotlight. Linda faltered. When you have to keep talking to prop up a claim, words stop being persuasive and start sounding defensive. When neighbors started to ask for proof, things shifted. Someone pulled up a public record on their phone. Another neighbor remembered a discussion from last year that contradicted Linda's version. The performance was losing its rhythm. That's when a person who relies on spectacle is most vulnerable, because spectacle needs an audience willing to be fooled. After that morning, we moved into a less cinematic, more adult phase. Letters, calm calls with a lawyer, careful presentations of the deed, and prior communications. It was boring in the best way, slow, methodical, the kind of thing that settles disputes without leaving scars. Paperwork doesn't have fireworks, but it has weight. The board responded to weight. The HOA's procedures kicked in when the evidence was clear. Institutions like rules, they favor documents and dates over charisma. Linda tried to keep pushing louder emails, a couple of angry posts, but when neighbors compared her claims to the records, her foundation crumbled. Influence built on performance is fragile when someone asks for receipts. I want to give you a couple of images that stuck with me. Linda with the clipboard, rain or shine, believing that being loud meant being right. Tara rubbing my shoulder on the porch, saying the kind of quiet thing that means she's beside you. Sam, ordinary and practical, asking for evidence and changing the tone of the whole morning. Those little scenes rearranged the narrative in the neighborhood. There was a board meeting later that felt like something out of a small-town movie, earnest, awkward, necessary. People who'd taken Linda at her word read parts of the record aloud. Some apologized for assuming. Others asked how we move forward as neighbors. Linda spoke, too, not with the showmanship from before, but with a brittle defense that couldn't convince. Power, I learned, is easier to claim than to justify. Not everyone lined up neatly. A few folks thought I'd overreacted. Some said I should have let it sort itself out. Perspective is shaped by where you sit. But the lesson I keep coming back to is this: prevention matters. Notice the first odd flyer, the first offhand comment. Don't let a narrative become a neighborhood fact because no one bothered to ask. This isn't a legal primer or a call to arms. It's a story about the small scales of power, how they get asserted, how they're sometimes accepted by habit, and how they can be undone by ordinary questions. I'm not bragging about a strategy. I'm passing along a sort of civic hygiene. Keep your documents, keep your eyes open, and when something smells like someone else's self-interest, ask for the receipt. The victory, when it came, was boring and perfect. No banners, no dramatic courtroom scene, just a return to ordinary life. The pool was used again, quietly, for nights when the stars were low and everything felt right. Linda's influence dwindled at the meetings. People started talking like neighbors again instead of an audience. If you were on my porch now, I tell you that the right move is rarely the loudest. Sometimes the right move is to let truth be visible and let ordinary people decide. Speak up early. Don't mistake politeness for consent. And remember that community isn't one person with a clipboard, it's all of us, asking the little, necessary questions. So tell me, has someone ever tried to rewrite your piece of the world with louder words? Did you call them out or walk away? Where are you from? What happened? And how did it end? Drop a comment. Hit like if you want more of these neighborhood stories, and share this with someone dealing with a pushy neighbor. Let's get a real conversation going.